Okay, it's Monday, the 4th of August, 2:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it is about 86 degrees maybe, probably 90 in the sun. After 2 months or so, we finally got out of the 95s to 100 degree heat. Well, today we're going to have some fun, and I hope this is recording properly because I'm using my earbuds for my iPhone. I am working on, I've got a lavalier, wireless lavalier coming in, a new one. We'll try that out. Anyway, the early days of the internet. Anybody remember this? Good old web TV. It says Microsoft Web TV, but it's made by Sony. Now, my understanding was the original Web TV network was independent, and then Microsoft bought it. It became MSN. I wish I could turn it on, and I don't even know what it would do if I plugged it in, if it'd just be blank or say it's not supported. But it used to happen, the Web TV logo would come up, and it was so cool. It was like you were driving over this, it looked like a bridge over this real big body of water into a town at night, and it was all, lit up. I think it was gold, white or gold outlines of all the buildings, and it felt so cool because back then the internet, you were connected with the world. I remember how cool it was when I bought a bass amp, and it was in London, it was in England, and I was able to email them for free and communicate with them. How cool that was. We take it for granted now, but there was no internet. There was bulletin boards if you were lucky enough to have a computer, and I think it was like $30 for 30 hours on CompuServe or something. It was like $1 an hour. It was very expensive, and it wasn't until AOL said, hey, guess what? $30 a month and you get unlimited internet access, free email and all that stuff. And AOL, that was a game changer. AOL went on to kind of like buy out Time Warner magazine, which I thought that was bogus, and it turned out it was. An up-and-coming .com company buying out a historic newspaper, well, it might have been newspaper, historic magazine empire, Time. And then you had the .com bubble, and it burst, and a lot of people went under. But as far as the internet goes, I remember I thought, well, this might just be a fad, so I'm just going to wait a little bit. I didn't have a computer, didn't know anything about computers, and my friend bought a web TV, and he was telling me how great it was, and even though I was in my early 40s, and he was in his mid-40s, we thought it was cool. We felt like we were 20, 25 years old. It was just cool. This is kind of stuff we dreamed about when we were growing up in our early bands. And he was talking about how bands were getting websites where they could put their, I don't know if they put music on because you only had MP3s. It was really slow to load, at least on this thing. And you had the real long address, like tripod, blah, 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 blah. It was real long. But anyway, so I ended up after a while, thought, well, I'm going to go invest in this because I can't get a virus on it. I knew that much. I ain't going to get a virus on web TV. It's going to hook up to my TV, so I don't need a monitor. And just like regular internet, it has to hook up to your phone line. Didn't have cell phones back then, people. You had to hook up to your analog phone line, plug your phone in, and when your phone rang, your internet would interrupt, and you could answer your phone, but you got kicked off the internet until they came out with broadband a few years later, where you could answer your phone and still stay on the internet with a broadband modem, which I still have mine, I think. So I thought, well, we'll do this. I had 2 kids. Let's see, it was about 1998, I think, when I bought this. So my one kid was 15, and the other one was like 11. And I thought, okay, you guys can stay on it an hour each during the day and an hour each at night. And if you want to share time or something, that's up to you. I didn't want them to be hooked on it. And I bought this little TV, a 9-inch screen, had a VCR in it, had a video recorder in it, videotape recorder, and that we put down in the kitchen. Nobody was ever out there. and we went on the kitchen table. And that's where we spent time on the internet. It was just the coolest thing. So I think this thing was $100, and I bought the keyboard, the wireless keyboard, because otherwise, somehow I got 2 of these, you would have to, go up and down with this thing for every time you wanted to type something. You get into a chat room and stuff, which we all did. I got into the slow typers chat room because I was a slow typer. And this was just annoying. So we went ahead and, I don't know how much we paid, 50 to $100 for the wireless keyboard to go with it. There's a little Web TV logo. And we bought that. And here's how the Web TV say, well, first it says Connect, Web TV Classic. I think they had another model that had a little more oomph to it, a little more, I don't know, a bigger hard drive. I don't know what it was. But this is the Classic. Browse the World Wide Web. Get stock quotes, local weather and news, plus a trip discover, new hobbies, shop, and more. Brings the internet to your TV. Send and receive email with friends and family worldwide. Back then, up until the early 2000s, and you had a landline, you were still paying long-distance charges for your phone call. And even when you had a cell phone, which I had one, you would pay roaming charges, and they could be quite expensive. If you got out of your network, and I think I had Southwestern Bell, and I went out of my network, I was roaming, it was going to cost me a lot of money to talk on the phone with roaming charges. And you bought minutes. You buy cards or time, you buy so many minutes. And when I don't know if they had monthly charges, I don't remember. But we bought minutes, and they didn't last long. Like I said, the roaming was outrageous. So here you got email. Instead of sending a letter in the mail, you had email. Just boom, electronically, it goes to somebody's email box. Instead of waiting for days for it to go through the mail. And instead of making a long-distance call where it's going to cost you money, you could chat in a forum somewhere or email each other. But this is in the very early beginning. So you hook this thing up, and all the lights would come on. You got your internet. It let you know if you got email. And you would get on there, and it would look like you're driving at nighttime over this bridge with very nicely lit striped lanes and guardrails, and you see the city in the distance. So anyway, here on the back, this is where you plugged your phone in, right there. And if you had a printer, you could print off of this thing. So you could hook your computer printer port up. Remember, this is before the USB. This was before USB. At least they didn't use it on here. You had to use the old-fashioned hookup. And then you had your audio, just like on a VCR, your audio and video output and your S video, and then you plugged it in. And that was it. And then they give you your welcome thing. Tells you, step 1, start with this quick setup guide to set up your new terminal, internet terminal. And, need a tour guide. Use the quick reference card, and they give you that. And then they give you this thing here. How do I sign up for Microsoft? I think it was like $25, $28, $30 a month to get unlimited internet on this thing. And eventually it became MSN. It wasn't Web TV anymore. How do I know if I'm using a local access phone number to connect to the Web TV network? Your internet terminal uses a phone line to connect to the Web TV network service. The first time it connects, it will automatically attempt to find a local access phone number to dial. So you had all that kind of weird stuff. And then you had using Web TV. I don't know why I got 2 of these, because I only had 1 unit. I think we might have had to get another unit. I don't know. And you getting started. And it shows you setting up your email, and then you could have music. They had different genres of music, and you could select music to listen while you're on the internet. And I do that. There's kind of a cult following about Web TV, and kind of a cult thing about the music files. A lot of us like the music. And it just goes on to show you everything. Tells you all the troubleshooting. And then you have a setup guide here. You know, you basically plug it up like a VCR. I actually made a VCR tape of things that I was researching. I'd put the VCR tape on pause, and then I'd go find the web page that I was wanting to record next, and then once I found it, I would turn the recorder back on and continue recording. Anyway, it shows you all the hookup. I mean, here we got all these names and web TV addresses. And anyway, this is just a general setup guide. So you came with the remote controls. You had your adapter, and then you had your wireless that you could buy optionally. Like I said, it used to be Web TV networks, and it became MSN, which I wasn't happy about back then. But it was cool for $100 to get your feet wet, to learn how to navigate the internet, to get access to email and websites and all that stuff. And I just loved it. It was just fantastic. And my kids loved it. We eventually got a computer from a friend of mine. And it was funny. I remember the first time I turned it on, the Windows logo came up. I thought, now what do I do? We eventually got AOL then. And then we also eventually got broadband, so we wouldn't get kicked off. You know, remember, you could probably go online and probably find out how Web TV looked originally, how it used to look when you got on. Maybe somebody still has those files up. I've seen them not too long ago. And you can probably hear some of the music and maybe see some of the screens, how they looked. It was slow. It was really slow. And it wasn't until we got AOL that my kids started meeting people, because everybody was on AOL. If you had AOL, you were cool as a fool. You were a cool fool to have AOL. That's what people wanted. And then from AOL, then you got Earthlink, and then Southwestern Bell, and all the Bell networks, and just all the different internet companies. I remember I used to merchandise Time Warner magazine, AOL Time Warner, and they used to send us the AOL disc to put in your computer to download or upload from the disc the new AOL software. So I used to get boxes of those things. I used to put them out. They were free. You just go and get them for free. So you had free software to get on the internet, and that's how AOL got around everything, because Microsoft wasn't going to help them. So AOL, you'd go get your disc from your local store or something and take it home, put it in your computer, and load up your AOL. And I remember sometimes I had a lot of trouble. My computer wouldn't load it up. And I tried like 2 or 3 times. You didn't have to do that with Web TV, though. It was already there. It was cool. It was comfortable. It was slow. Its screens looked a little bit different than on a computer. But for $100, well, plus the keyboard, $150, $200, you didn't have to worry about viruses and all the crap that was going on at the time, all the worms getting into your computer programs. You just hooked up your Web TV, and like us, we had an extra little monitor, an extra little TV. We didn't have to use the family TV. I mean, at one time we did. We used a 25-inch screen TV. But it was a whole different game. But I just remember how cool it was to write England and talk about my amp, and didn't have to make an expensive phone call, didn't have to write a letter and wait, just got on there and wrote it. And the funny thing was, they didn't even know what model amp I had. They made it, and they didn't even recognize the model. So I really never got any information from them. Is that crazy? And we got into, Web TV had their own chats, just like Yahoo and AOL and all of them had their own chat rooms, and we got in a bunch of those. I talked to some people in New Hampshire, and the slow typers. Those were the 2 that I remember I was in. Make up your funny little handles, names that you call yourself. But it was so cool. I mean, I was glad, honestly, to get out of it and get a computer. My first computer, I think, was like 4 gig. It was a Packard Bell, which, they don't make those. The company's not in existence anymore. Now it's Hewlett Packard, I believe, which I do believe they are in business. So anyway, it was just neat to have the web TV, to see the iconic welcome screen as you got on, and the first thing you do is go to your email. It didn't do like AOL and says, "You got mail." I don't think it did that. We might have had a flag on it, mailbox that went up. I don't remember. It's been a long time, almost 30 years ago. But I kept it. It's a brick, like they said. It's basically good for nothing. I don't know what I could ever do with this thing. I'm not tech savvy, so I don't know what I could ever do with it. And since they don't have service anymore, I don't know what's actually installed on this machine. It's got I guess a bit of a hard drive, so it might have some of the music installed. Maybe it has the home screen. I've tried to see if it did. Some people says I think the music files were actually installed on here. But it was a cool time in our lives to have web TV, especially being as old as I was at the time, my early 40s, to get to experience something we dreamed about when we were growing up. Oh man, if we could just access other people. And of course, now you can put videos up and your songs and artwork, and you can record everything on your computer. We'll talk about that on one of our other videos. I got another interesting little gem I'm going to show you in one of our other videos. I don't know if it'll be the next one. It might be the next one. I'm having so much trouble trying to find time and space to take all this stuff out. I wish I could plug this in and show you that screen, but I do believe I seen it, that somebody somehow had the screen of web TV, and I don't remember when it went offline. Like I said, it changed from Web TV Network to MSN. And when I used to not be able to pay my internet bill, I would go over to MSN. I'd go for a month on Web TV. And it was fun, but it wasn't as fun as the computer internet. But it's just a relic. It was just a cool time. Can't do anything with it now. So anyway, I thought maybe some of you people like to get a charge out of seeing this. I don't know what value this thing would have except as a museum piece. And there's a lot of them out there. But, if you go on the internet, look up web TV, home screen, or welcome screen, whatever it is, you can see it. You can probably hear some of the music, and people might have some screenshots. Now, I do have a video that I told you I recorded, and I got it on a DVD, and I'm eventually going to upload it to one of my internet channels. And it is from web TV, like I told you. It was something I was researching at the time, and I would go to all these different websites. So you'll see probably the web TV logo on the screen, and you see how it looks at the bottom, the address bar. I do have the music playing through, but I might turn that off when I make a new video, because it could be a little distracting, because I have to narrate. I have to pause it and narrate what's on the screen because it goes too quickly. Anyway, I thought you guys would like to see this, and I hope that maybe it brings back memories for you as well. But that's all I got. If you got any questions or comments, you know what to do. Put them in the internet section. Put them in the comment section. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.